On this one, I'm going to be making a little folding card holder that's going to have a snap on it. And I started out, I made my pattern, and I got that's going to be the inside piece, and then I got these two pieces that are gonna go on the inside. And the way I come up with my measurements, I just used a card, and I allowed a little bit of extra room for my stitch line, and then on these pockets, so I'm gonna have them, I cut them just a little bit wider than what this inside piece is gonna be. That way when I get them all sewed in, they can be I can trim them up flush and everything. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make two of these. And the outside piece, I'm going to wait until I can get the pockets sewed to the inside, and then this will fold over like so, and then the outside piece, I'm going to put an outside piece on it where they can put money back here like a wallet, but and then have a snap right here that will keep everything closed up. But the outside piece, I'm going to wait until I get everything sewed up, because it's going to have to be longer than this inside piece. And right now don't really know how long it's going to be, so I'm going to take the leather once I get everything cut out and sewed together, and then I can fold it over and then get my measurement for my outside piece. So right now I've got to cut some leather. this thing is still flat before I saw that other end of it. Go ahead and shine this back side up a little bit. It's a lot easier than waiting until after I fold it. Well, I guess these two done. Hope y'all enjoyed the video, and they snap shut. Got two card holders on either side, and then a place to put your money in there, and then a little snap to close it up. So I guess that one finished, and I guess I'll see you on the next one. It's been a while since I put out one, but the weather's finally starting to cool off a little bit. It's just been too hot for me to want to work on anything. Be glad when fall and winter gets here. So see you on the next one.